Put salt in these 5 places in your home and watch God move, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes the most profound movements of God begin with the simplest acts of faith. Today, I want to talk to you about something symbolic, something ancient yet powerfully relevant: salt. Not just for flavor, but for purpose. You see, salt has always carried spiritual weight. It preserves, it purifies, and it represents covenant. When you put salt in the right places in your home, you're not casting spells, you're making statements. You're saying, in this house we stand for something, we prepare for blessing, we welcome the presence of God. So let's walk through 5 powerful places where a pinch of salt and a bold act of faith might just open the door for God to move like never before. Put salt at the front door, guard the gateway of your life. They say every home has a front door, but not every home understands what it's for. Beyond just letting people in or keeping the rain out, the front door is symbolic. It's the gateway, the passageway between what's outside and what's allowed to enter. When you put salt at your front door, you're not practicing magic, you're declaring authority. You're standing up and saying, I decide what crosses this threshold. I determine what enters my environment. Too many people live passively, letting anything and everything into their homes. Habits, media, people, attitudes, even spirits, without question. But just as salt preserves meat from decay, it can also remind us to preserve our homes from corruption. You see, the front door is where battles begin. The enemy rarely kicks in the back door. He knocks subtly at the front. A bad influence enters as a friend. A toxic mindset sneaks in through casual conversation. Fear enters through the news. Anxiety slips in on a bill. But when you place salt at the entrance of your home, it's not about the salt itself. It's about your decision to turn your home into holy ground. It's about awareness. It's about being the gatekeeper of your life. Nothing enters without your consent. That small line of salt, whether you pour it across the threshold, place it in a dish nearby, or tuck it out of sight, is not superstition. It's strategy. It's a daily reminder to examine what you're allowing into your life. Who's walking through your door? Are they bringing peace or confusion? Are they aligned with your values or subtly chipping away at them? Every time you cross that line of salt, you're asking yourself, is what I'm letting in building my life or breaking it down? In ancient times, salt was more valuable than gold. Roman soldiers were sometimes paid in salt. It's where we get the word salary. Why? Because salt was essential. It preserved food, it purified wounds, it represented loyalty and covenant. So when you put salt at your door, you're not just engaging in a tradition, you're aligning with timeless wisdom. You're saying, in this house we preserve what matters, we protect what's sacred, we welcome what is clean. Think of the people who walk through your front door. Do you prepare for them spiritually? Or is your front door just a revolving door for anyone who knocks? Putting salt at the entrance can be your personal declaration. This home is a place of peace. Strife stops here. Confusion stops here. Fear doesn't enter. Drama doesn't live here. You create an atmosphere of peace by being intentional. Peace doesn't happen by accident. It's curated. It's also a personal accountability tool. Every time you walk in and out of your home, you're crossing a boundary you set. That salt reminds you that what's inside is under your protection. It's easy to clean up the living room, but ignore the spiritual mess we track in from the world. You carry energy, thoughts, and influences from your job, your conversations, even social media. But when you walk through that salted threshold, you remind yourself, I leave the world's weight at the door. And now, let's talk about legacy. Your children see what you do. They pick up on what you protect. Putting salt at the front door isn't just symbolic for you. It's educational for them. You're teaching them boundaries. You're showing them how to value their space. You're planting in them the understanding that not everything should be allowed in, and not everyone has the right to speak into your home. You're modeling discernment, and yes, God honors intention. When He sees you taking spiritual responsibility for your environment, don't be surprised if His presence begins to rest more heavily in your space. You've made room for Him, you've cleared the clutter. You've declared war on chaos. God doesn't bless mess, He blesses order. When you sanctify the entrance to your home, you invite divine order to take its place within. Some of you may need to go home today and physically sweep your front entrance. Not just for dirt, but spiritually, for every toxic thing you've let walk in without resistance, sweep and then pour a line of salt. And while you do speak life, this home belongs to God. This is a house of peace. Every person who crosses this line will feel love or they won't stay long. Every spirit that does not belong must turn around. It's not the salt, it's the stand you take. It's the ownership of your space. It's your refusal to be passive in a world full of noise and negativity. When you guard your gate, you begin to notice the difference. Peace will linger longer. Confusion will fade faster. Your home becomes not just a place to sleep, but a place where the presence of God dwells, and it all begins at the door. Put salt in the kitchen season, your gratitude for daily provision. The kitchen is more than a room for cooking. It is the heart of the home, the altar of daily provision, the sacred space where nourishment is prepared and memories are made. It's where the unseen work happens, where hands stir, chop, boil, and bake so others can be filled. And if the kitchen is the heart, then salt in this space is a bold declaration. We will not take provision for granted. When you place salt in the kitchen, not just in the shaker, but with purpose and awareness, you're not just seasoning food, you're seasoning your gratitude. You're making a quiet yet powerful statement that what happens here is holy. That every meal is a miracle, every plate a blessing, and every bite a reminder that God provides again and again. It's easy to overlook the kitchen. After all, it's a place of repetition. Dishes pile up. Meals get made and eaten and made again. But what we often miss is that the kitchen is also a place of daily miracles. Maybe not the parting of the Red Sea, but the parting of the paycheck to make sure your family eats. The stretching of groceries to last just a little longer, the unexpected bag of food from a neighbor, the warmth of a meal shared with someone you love. You see, God doesn't always show up in thunder. Sometimes He shows up in toast, and salt in the kitchen reminds us to notice Him in the small, faithful things. Placing salt in your kitchen is about renewing your awareness. It's a personal act of worship. It's saying, Lord, I see you here. I see you in the bread, the rice, the beans. I see you in the fact that I have a stove that works, a table to sit at, and something, anything to put on a plate. Gratitude is the seasoning that transforms a meal. You can have the fanciest ingredients and still feel empty if there's no gratitude. But you can serve simple food and feel deeply satisfied when your heart is full of thanks. That's what salt in the kitchen reminds us of, not just physical seasoning, but spiritual perspective. The kitchen is also a place of service. How many times have you stood in front of a stove, tired, underappreciated, or even resentful? How many times have meals been made not with joy, but with heaviness? Let's be honest, sometimes the act of providing day after day can become routine, even burdensome. That's why salt matters. Salt is not just a flavor enhancer, it's a preservative. And what needs preserving more than your joy in serving those you love? Salt in the kitchen is a way of saying, Lord, preserve my spirit. Let me serve with gladness, not just duty. It's a small, silent prayer that says, keep my hands blessed and my attitude grateful. Now think about what the kitchen represents spiritually. It's the place where things are prepared before they are served. You don't just throw ingredients on a table. You mix, you measure, you wait. In the same way, life's blessings are often cooked slowly. God may be preparing something for you right now in the background, and just like a good meal, it takes time. Salt in the kitchen reminds you to trust the process, to stay in the heat without complaining, to wait with expectation instead of frustration, because what God is cooking in your life is worth the wait. Let's not forget the importance of speaking blessings in the kitchen. Too many arguments start around the dinner table. Too many complaints get stirred in with the soup. But what if the kitchen became a sanctuary of praise instead of a place of pressure? What if every meal began not just with a prayer, but with a posture of awe that said, Lord, you did it again. You gave us something. That salt in the corner of your kitchen, that's your reminder to speak life, to be intentional, to not let bitterness stir in your pot, to let peace rise like steam from your stove. And don't miss this. The kitchen is often where children first learn about provision. They see where food comes from. They witness the work, the care, the sacrifice. By placing salt in your kitchen, you're also planting seeds in them. You're teaching them that food doesn't just appear. It comes from God's hand and your hard work. It's a lesson in gratitude, humility, and honor. They'll remember that long after they forget the taste of the meal. They'll remember the spirit in which it was served. Salt in the kitchen is not about superstition. It's about sacredness. It's about saying, this space matters. It's about turning the ordinary into extraordinary with just a small act of intention. The Bible says, taste and see that the Lord is good. We're better to live that out than in your kitchen. So take that salt, place it with purpose, maybe in a little dish on the windowsill, maybe sprinkled in a hidden corner, and every time you cook, every time you eat, let it remind you, God is still providing. The pantry may not be full, but your faith can be. The meal may be simple, but the blessing is rich. Because the miracle isn't just in the food, it's in the God who never stops feeding you. Put salt in the bedroom, preserve the place where dreams are born. If the kitchen is the heart of the home, then the bedroom is its soul. The quiet sanctuary where the noise of the world fades and the real you surfaces. It's the place where dreams are dreamt, tears are cried, prayers are whispered, and rest is sought. When you put salt in the bedroom, you're doing more than symbolizing peace, you're preserving purpose. You're inviting clarity, intimacy, and divine protection into a space that the enemy often tries to invade through anxiety, fear, restlessness, and distraction. Salt in the bedroom is a declaration. This is holy ground, and what happens here matters. We often think of the bedroom as simply a place to sleep, but it's so much more than that. It's where your mind resets. It's where you lay down the weight of the day and prepare for what's next. It's where marriages are built or broken. It's where solitude either refreshes or isolates you. It's where spiritual battles are won or lost in silence. And in all that quiet, God speaks, if you're listening. Salt in the bedroom says, God, I'm listening here too, not just in church, not just when I'm on my knees. Even when I'm lying down, I want you to guard my thoughts. Have you ever noticed how the enemy loves to visit you in the night? That's when fear shows up. That's when regret whispers. That's when loneliness hits the loudest. That's when scrolling turns to spiraling. But salt at the edge of your bed or placed in a small dish on your nightstand serves as a silent alarm system. It reminds your spirit this room has been set apart. No spirit of fear has jurisdiction here. It says to the atmosphere, confusion doesn't get to linger. Shame doesn't get to tuck me in. God gives his beloved rest, and I'm one of them. For married couples, the bedroom is sacred ground. It's the garden of covenant. But how many relationships have been attacked right there in the place that was designed for connection, unity, and intimacy? The enemy knows that if he can poison the bedroom, he can paralyze the bond. That's why salt matters. Salt has always been a symbol of covenant. In biblical times, sharing salt was a sign of trust and loyalty. Placing salt in the bedroom is a way of saying, Lord, preserve our covenant. Keep this space protected from resentment, bitterness, miscommunication, and emotional distance. It's not about fixing everything overnight, but it is about planting the intention for healing. For singles, the bedroom becomes a place of reflection, of hope, and sometimes of aching. Long nights of questions, waiting, wondering if God still sees you, still hears the prayers you only speak in the dark. Salt in the room is a way of saying, yes, Lord, I still believe, I still hope. I'm still preparing myself for what you have promised. It's a tangible act of faith, not desperation. It's you choosing to honor your personal space, not just for who you are now, but for who you are becoming. Salt also preserves your rest. In today's world, rest has become rare. Our bodies may lie down, but our minds keep racing. We carry the whole world into our beds. Emails, social media, stress, comparison. But when you place salt in your bedroom, you're making a decision. Rest will be sacred here. You're saying, Lord, I will not worship hustle. I will honor rest because you created it. You rested. You commanded us to rest. So let my bedroom be a place where restoration begins, not just where exhaustion collapses in dreams. Oh yes, this is the place where dreams are born. Visions don't always come with thunderclaps and lightning. They often come in stillness. In the dark, with your head on a pillow, God drops ideas, warnings, insights, and promises into your heart. But a cluttered room often reflects a cluttered mind. Salt in the bedroom helps clear the spiritual clutter. It's a declaration, God, speak, I am making space to hear. Don't be surprised if clarity starts to come. Don't be shocked if you start waking up with answers you didn't have when you went to bed. God honors intentional spaces. Let's get practical too. Some of the battles you're fighting in your sleep, nightmares, restlessness, sudden anxiety, might not be random. Sometimes we invite spiritual chaos into our resting space through what we watch, listen to, or entertain just before sleep. That's why salt in the bedroom is also about alignment. You're reminding yourself that your nighttime habits matter. You're saying, I won't feed my fears before bed. I'll feed my faith. Maybe tonight, instead of doom, scrolling, you pause and pray. Instead of anxiety, you speak peace. Instead of overthinking, you release it all to God. So take that salt, just a pinch, and place it in a clean dish near your bed, under your pillow, or in a corner. It's not a ritual for ritual's sake. It's a reminder. It's your declaration. This room is a sanctuary. This is where God restores me. This is where I receive revelation. This is where I rest deeply and rise purposefully. You'll be amazed what changes when you make your bedroom not just a room for sleeping, but a space for surrender, restoration, and divine visitation. Put salt in your workspace. Purify the place where you build. If your bedroom is where dreams are born, then your workspace is where they are built. Whether it's a corner desk, a studio, a kitchen table, or an office downtown, your workspace is the launch pad of your productivity, the command center of your calling, and the proving ground for discipline. It's the place where ideas meet action, where effort meets resistance, and where purpose is either pursued or pushed aside. When you put salt in your workspace, you're not just symbolizing purity. You're claiming the atmosphere for clarity, excellence, and divine favor. You're setting a tone. This is not just where I work. This is where I build. And if you're going to build anything that lasts, you must do it in an environment that's protected, intentional, and aligned with your values. Salt in the workspace is your declaration that distraction, confusion, and chaos don't get to live where vision is being born. We often underestimate the spiritual battle that takes place where we work. The enemy doesn't just fight you on Sundays. He fights you on Monday mornings, in the inbox, at the Zoom meeting, in the moments of delay, disappointment, and discouragement. He fights you in the silence, when the feedback doesn't come, when the sales fall short, when the door doesn't open, when the vision you've been chasing feels like it's pulling away. And in those moments, the atmosphere of your workspace matters more than you realize. It's in that space where your thoughts are either sharpened or clouded. It's where your attitude is either uplifted or drained. It's where your potential either gains traction or stays parked. Salt placed intentionally in this space is a reminder that your work is sacred. Your ideas matter. Your time is valuable. Your mission is holy. Salt in the workspace says, this isn't just where I hustle. This is where I honor God with my mind, my time, and my talent. It's a way of saying, I won't work as the world works. I will work with integrity, with vision, with resilience. Because here's the truth. Your workspace is often where your witness is seen most clearly. People may not hear your sermons, but they see your habits. They see your consistency, your excellence, your treatment of others. Your desk may be the only pulpit some people will ever witness. So when you place salt there, you are praying without saying a word. You're declaring, let this be a place where my character is preserved, where my motives stay clean, where my heart stays anchored. Let's also be honest. Your workspace can become a battlefield for your emotions. How often do anxiety, comparison, and insecurity creep in right where you're trying to create or lead? How often do we sit down with vision and end up scrolling, doubting, or overthinking? That's why salt is necessary. It reminds you that this space has purpose. It's not just functional, it's spiritual. You are not just punching in, you're planting seeds. Every email, every design, every spreadsheet, every product, every word you write or plan you draft is a seed being sown. And like any farmer, you must guard your field. Salt is a preservative. In biblical times, it was used to keep things from decaying. So when you put salt in your workspace, you are saying, let the vision not rot. Let the discipline not decay. Let what I've started not be stolen by laziness or distraction. This is also the place where you must break the cycle of self-sabotage. Salt reminds you that excellence is not a suggestion. It's a standard. Too often, we get in our own way. We delay. We make excuses. We say we're waiting on God, but God is often waiting on us to show up with focus and fire. Salt in your workspace is a challenge. Don't just show up, lock in. Don't just dream. Don't just plan. Produce. Let the salt speak to your soul and say, if God gave you the gift, honor it. If He gave you the vision, build it. If He gave you the platform, steward it. And now, salt also purifies. It cleanses the atmosphere, and some of you know that your workspace, physical or digital, is cluttered not just with tasks but with toxicity. You've allowed in voices, influences, even coworkers or clients who carry confusion, negativity, or manipulation. And it wears you down, but salt is your way of taking back the space. It's a spiritual boundary. You're saying, this is where I thrive, not survive. This is where I create, not complain. This is where my clarity lives, not my chaos. Don't underestimate the power of spiritually cleaning your environment. A cluttered space reflects a cluttered spirit. So clean it, organize it, dedicate it, and place the salt as a marker. This space has been reset. And let's not forget, this is also where provision is pursued. For many, the workspace is the source of income, which becomes the source of everything else. Rent, groceries, giving, living. Salt in the workspace becomes a prophetic act. Lord, bless the work of my hands. You're saying, let this not just be busy work. Let this be fruitful. You're declaring that your hustle is not hollow, that your time is not wasted, and that you're not just building for today, but for a future. You're asking for favor, not just for more, but for meaningful more, increase with purpose, clients with character, deals with integrity. You're inviting God into the profit margin and into the project timeline. And if you work for someone else, salt still matters, because no matter who signs your paycheck, your real employer is watching. Salt says, I will serve with diligence even when I'm overlooked. I will give my best even when no one claps. I will be faithful here, and God will be faithful to promote me in His time. Salt in the workplace also protects your peace. Every stressful deadline, every tough conversation, every moment of doubt must bow to the fact that this space has been claimed. The storm may swirl around you, but peace has been planted beneath you. So go ahead. Take a pinch of salt and place it in the drawer, under the desk, in a dish by your monitor. Not for show, not for superstition, but as a personal covenant. Let it be a silent sermon preached over your efforts every day. Let it be a reminder, I'm not just working. I'm walking out a calling. I'm not just busy. I'm building something eternal. This is holy ground, and I'm here on assignment. And as you do, don't be surprised when focus sharpens, favor flows, and frustration fades. Because God moves in spaces where He is welcomed and where excellence is pursued. And when salt is present, so is the intention to make that happen. Put salt at your front door, guard the gate, and welcome glory. The front door of your home is not just wood and hinges. It's the gate, the threshold, the line that separates what's yours from what's not. It's where the outside world ends and your inner world begins, and in the spirit, it is far more significant than most people realize. It is the portal where atmospheres change, where energy transfers, and where spirits either gain or lose access. When you put salt at your front door, you are not performing a ritual. You are making a declaration. You are saying, this house is not open for everything. This is a house of peace, not chaos. A house of joy, not heaviness. A house of truth, not deception. A house of purpose, not confusion. You are guarding the gate, because no matter how beautiful the inside of your house is, if the gate is unguarded, it's only a matter of time before something destructive finds its way in. In the ancient world, gates were always guarded, not just because of thieves, but because of threats that couldn't always be seen with the naked eye, and so it is today. You may not be guarding against soldiers or wolves, but you are guarding against something just as dangerous. Discouragement, spiritual fatigue, fear, distraction, heaviness, division, and all manner of toxic spirits that try to enter quietly and slowly wear down your home. And where do they enter first? Through the door. That's why salt belongs there not as superstition, but as a signpost. Just as the blood on the doorposts during Passover marked those homes for divine protection, the salt at your door is your modern-day message. This house belongs to God. Nothing enters here without being filtered by His presence. Salt is a preserver, but it's also a purifier. And when placed at your door, it becomes your invitation for the pure and your boundary against the impure. It's not just about what comes in physically, but what comes in spiritually, through people, through packages, through conversations, even through your own thoughts as you cross the threshold. How many times have you had a long, hard day, and as you walk through your front door, the weight of the world follows you in? Or perhaps it's been people, visitors, guests, relatives, who come in with their own energy, their own burdens, and suddenly your peaceful home feels off balance. Salt at the door reminds you to pause, to pray, to say, Lord, cleanse this space before anything crosses in. Let no shadow enter where there should be light. And while salt protects, it also invites. When you put salt at your front door, you're not just blocking out the wrong. You're welcoming in the right. You're saying, let favor find its way here. Let peace dwell here. Let joy enter freely. Let God's presence make itself at home. Your door becomes not just a boundary, but a bridge, a place where heaven meets your home. There's something sacred about how God moves through places that have been set apart. And when you intentionally mark your doorway, you're creating a place of expectancy. Every time you leave with a mindset of purpose. Every time you return, you're reminded that home is holy ground. Now think of the people who come to your door. Friends, family, delivery workers, guests, neighbors. You don't know what they're carrying, but the spirit world does. And your front door is the first line of defense. Salt in that place says, no unclean spirit will make it past this line. No heaviness will infect this environment. No conflict, drama, or chaos will linger in this air. This is a clean zone. And it's not about being harsh or superstitious. It's about being spiritually wise. Because if you let everything in, you risk losing the peace that keeps your house a sanctuary. Salt is also connected to covenant. In Scripture, a covenant of salt symbolized an enduring, unbreakable promise. So when you place salt at your front door, you're entering into a covenant of protection, of peace, of presence. You're saying, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. You're committing your home to be more than a place to sleep. It becomes a place of refuge, restoration, and revelation. It becomes the kind of place people walk into and say, something feels different here. And that difference is not in the decor, it's in the divine. It's in the presence that dwells because you made room for it, starting right at the entrance. We don't often realize how porous our spiritual lives become when we are careless with thresholds. It's at the threshold where many battles are either won or lost. The argument that started in the car finishes in the hallway. The worry that built up at work explodes in the kitchen. The resentment that's been brewing in silence erupts in the living room. All of it crosses that line, the door. But what if the atmosphere was charged with salt, covered in tension? What if crossing the threshold required your spirit to check itself? What if your heart had to shift before it entered? Salt at the door makes you mindful. It makes you pause and choose what spirit you're carrying into the space that houses your family, your rest, your creativity, and your healing. Let's go deeper. Your door is not just for entrance, it's also for exit. And when you leave your home, you carry whatever was cultivated inside. So salt becomes a double-edged protection. It keeps out what doesn't belong, and it seals in what's valuable. It holds peace within the walls so that when you step out, you do so strengthened, not scattered. You leave whole, not fractured. You walk out ready to influence, not just survive. That's what happens when you don't just live in a house. You govern a house. You take responsibility for its atmosphere. And that governance starts right at the door. If you have children, this matters even more. Your front door is where they walk out to face the world. It's where their minds and hearts are shaped by the covering they've received inside. When salt is placed at the threshold, you're saying, "May every child that leaves here be protected and empowered. May every return be met with love and safety." You're turning the simple act of walking in and out into a sacred transition. You're creating a culture of spiritual safety that shapes futures. Practically, you don't need to make it dramatic. A small line of salt across the threshold, a small bowl to the side of the door, or even salt tucked into a decorative container. Whatever the form, the power is in the intention. As you place it, speak life. This home is covered. This door is sealed. Only what is holy and helpful may enter, and what is dark or destructive must stay out. That declaration, though unseen by many, is heard in the spirit realm. And you'll begin to notice the difference. Peace will linger longer. Arguments will dissipate faster. The air will feel lighter. The threshold will carry weight, not of burden, but of blessing. So go ahead. Salt your door. Not with superstition, but with faith. Not as a charm, but as a covenant. You are not just keeping things out. You are calling something greater in. And as you do, watch how your home shifts. Watch how tension breaks before it even begins. Watch how guests relax, children thrive, and you yourself feel more centered. Because when you guard the gate, you don't just protect the house. You prepare the house for glory. And wherever God is welcomed, He brings more than just peace. He brings power, provision, and presence. So salt your doorway, stand your ground, and then watch God move.